are they than the politicians that were overthrown in the First Republic? We're still dealing with the problems that Nzoko said brought the military to power. Corruption, poverty, and other catalogues of problems. So, it was a tragedy, and I deeply, deeply regret the loss of lives, including that of the first Prime Minister.
So, Emmanuel, you are stating, thank you for your summation, first of all, of the context of the experience. So you are stating that you still remember vividly the image represented at the back of this book, these fleeing civilians.
Definitely.
How old were you at that time?
About 4.
And the memory is still vivid with you?
Definitely. It's something one can never forget.
Gosh.
It's something one can never forget. It is like in the soul of the person who went through it. Seeing your mother and brothers and everybody carrying luggages on bicycles and on foot, moving from place to place. But apart from that, there was also the air raids by the Nigerian military on Biafran civilians, and we had to run into the bushes to hide, and you could hear the sound of gunfire, the sound of bombs being dropped, and when the whole thing was over, would return to our houses. So it was a traumatic experience.
You did say something about how the effect on you, even after you came to England. You were trying to say something about that.
Oh yes, I remember when I returned to England as a boy in the very late 60s.
Before the war was over?
Yes, before the war was over. As planes are passing ahead in London, when I hear the sound of a plane, I would run and duck and hide under a table or chair. So the war in the East was brutal. It was savage. It was vicious. So I don't blame Chinua Achebe for what he has written, because he's given a first-hand account of the events as they unfolded before him, and this is his own interpretation. It was a tragedy on both sides. It was a tragedy on both sides, and I think in a way Gowon was right to say no victor, no vanquished. It's not something that I think the Nigerian side can say, oh well, they cherished the victory because they lost comrades both in the East and in the wider Nigerian context as well. And it's not what the eastern region of Nigeria rejoices about as well, because they lost comrades both in the East and in other parts of Nigeria. Yes, so that is that. There's no doubt. I think with regards to the pogroms, I think the northern part of Nigeria were reacting to the January 15 coup.
You're referring to the January pogroms that led the Southerners and Igbos in particular to flee from the north to the east.
They were reacting to that. But then in that reaction, it turned out to be an overkill. It turned out to be an overkill because the civilian population of the Easterners had nothing to do with the military coup that Chukwuma Nzogwu and his friends launched. So I believe that the pogroms were an overkill. I can understand the sentiment of of the eastern region and of the victims of the war. I can understand their sentiment. And it was an inevitable situation that was set in place by the way the colony of Nigeria was amassed together and then divided into 3 regions, and then the regional politics was allowed to grow as well. Right, so I hope you're going to edit what you have on about what we're talking about.
Why do you want me to edit?
Well, I don't know. So, it's difficult as an Igbo. It's difficult to not to be sentimental, but with hindsight, one needs to come to terms with the Civil War. One does need to talk about it. One does need to research it further, but with the detachment and impartiality of a scholar and of a true researcher, not serving any particular interest. I think it's by that means that the truth of the whole saga can be properly thrashed out and discussed. Right, that's me logging out. Bye.